Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of correlation and regression, we will be considering the price action, particularly after the release of US data, the retail sales numbers, and immediately after the release, we saw sharp spike in the US dollar. It has strengthened against most of the major currency crosses. So in backdrop of this, we will be looking for the opportunities as the North American trading session is going to begin very soon. So let us now head to the JForex 4, the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the Euro USD chart and this sharp move I am talking about immediately after the release of US retail sales. We have seen the numbers which were better than expected, and as a result of that, the US dollar has gathered momentum on the bullish side. It has continued to appreciate, and that theme has prevailed since the today's afternoon, where the Euro USD picked around 1.073, and from there on, it has continued to again decline. And now, if we look at its current price in comparison to its day's high, it is substantially lower, around 70 pips. Now the question is whether we should be shorting it or whether we have better opportunities somewhere else. So for that, the obvious question is to get the correlational analysis done, and then we can answer this question if the euro is the best choice or if we have the other major currency crosses which are more bearish than the euro against the US dollar. The momentum is of course in favor of US dollar. And looking at the currency segment, there is not much of an clarity on the equity side. Here, if we look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average charting, the underlying momentum is sideways with the bias on the bearish side, with this formation of lower high and lower low is likely to form if it crosses below this 33,800 mark. Now revert back to the euro, and let's consider its hourly charting. For the euro, the chart is not much of different. Here, after the release of USCPI, we saw these volatile moves. First, the euro went on to appreciate towards 1.08, but it couldn't really sustain on those levels. And here we are seeing the euro USD almost 1 percentage point lower from these high established in aftermath of USCPI. Now, if we look at the price momentum for the Euro USD, it has been consolidating with the bias on the bearish side with this formation of lower highs and lower lows. Now it is inching towards the immediate swing low of 1.065, and I think it is likely to be breached on the lower side as there is a strong momentum in favor of the US dollar, and also we saw the economic data also consolidating the dollar strength. So taken together, all these factors are pointing to the for possibility of further appreciation happening in the US dollar. So we should keep our stance. We should keep our trading positioning tilted toward the short of the Euro USD, or you can say the long trades in the US dollars are pro more likely to prove profitable. Now let's start comparison of the major currency crosses. Let's see what's happening in the USDJPY. The USDJPY is also in the similar trajectory where we are seeing the US dollar continuing to gain. If we look at its day's low, it was formed around the same time as was the high for the Euro USD, and from there on, it has gained more than 1 percentage point. So the volatility is a lot more in the USD JPY in comparison to the Euro USD. Euro USD has also declined, but its losses are also lower compared to the USD JPY. So we have to give preference to the USDJPY in comparison to the Euro USD. If you want to go for a trade, long trade in the US dollar, then the USDJPY is going to be a better choice in comparison to the Euro USD. Now let's compare other major currency crosses with GBPUSD also showing substantial decline if we compare its days high, which was around 1.218 to now its current level. It is also more than 1 percentage point lower for the day, and at the moment it is continuing to slide. So here also we have the tilt on the bearish side. So the natural choice if you want to go for the trade is to short it, but on the current levels it's going to be a bit difficult to get a optimum risk reward ratio, but the momentum is clearly in favor of short selling it. So any trade, if it has to be taken now, it has to be on the side of the shorting of the GBP. And if we look at the magnitude of the GBP USD slide in today's session, it is even more than the 1 percentage point, and apparently even more than the decline which we have seen in the JPY. So we have to put the GBP as the more bearish compared to the JPY, and of course compared to the euro. So here we have now clarity in favor of the GBP for the bearish trade to be taken in today's session, with GBP as the most bearish and euro is the least bearish of all the three major currencies which we have seen so far. Now let's expand the horizon and consider the AUDUSD. AUDUSD is not really looking much different. If we consider the day's high of the AUD, it was at around 0.7, and now here we are looking at the AUDUSD around the levels of 0.6868. That is almost 2 percentage point decline for the AUD in today's session. So apparently the AUD is even much more bearish compared to the euro. So here we have a situation where the bearishness of these major currencies is going on increasing and increasing as we are looking at more and more currencies, major currencies trading against the US dollar. So here we saw the AUD as the fourth currency, and it is apparently the most bearish of all the four major currencies simply by its magnitude, because even if the slide is having a similar trajectory in terms of the timeline, but the magnitude is a lot more for the AUD. So we have to give first preference to the AUD. Now let's see what's the story for NZDUSD. NZDUSD, as expected, it is not looking much different. It is also in a bearish zone. And if we look at its days high, which was around 0.6340, and compare it to the days low of around 0.6252, its decline is slightly less than 2 percentage point and less than the decline which we saw for the AUD. So we have to put the AUD ahead in terms of its bearishness against the US dollar. But NZD is not really far behind, and it has to be considered more bearish compared to the GBP. So it is just lagging to some extent in comparison to its Asia Pacific peer of AUD, but it is apparently much more bearish compared to the euro and even more bearish compared to the other Asian currency of the Japanese yen. Now we will have to invert the scales and consider the price formation for USDCAD and USDCHF. Here also the dollar is dominating the horizon, and if we look at its rise, the USDCAD's rise, the low was made at 1.333, and from there on Here we have almost 100 pips appreciation for the USD CAD in today's session. But in terms of the magnitude, its rise is less than 1 percentage point. So we have to consider the magnitude along with the timeline of the rise, and that puts the USD CAD in the category of less bearish currency. It is going to be ahead of the euro, but it is less bearish compared to the JPY, GBP, NZD, and the AUD. So we will have to consider that whenever we have to make a trading choice. With AUD having a substantially more stronger momentum, I would prefer to go short in the AUD USD rather than going for a long trade in the USD CAD. Let's see USDCHF. USDCHF apparently is going sideways. It is not showing as clear-cut a momentum on the upside as is the visibility for other major currency crosses, and its rise is more in line with the price formation of the euro. So CHF is apparently one of the less bearish currency against the US dollar. And if we look at its hourly charting, it is the story of consolidation where it is apparently finding resistance closer to this immediate swing high. So I would not really take chances of going long in the USDCHF. We have much more clarity in terms of the price formation and also the magnitude for other major currencies trading against the dollar. So I would say that if we see the signs of stabilization in these moves, and if the dollar starts to depreciate against other major currencies also, in that scenario we can start looking for the opportunities in contra trend, not with the trend. In contra trend, the USDCHF is likely to be a better choice for the trades, as we have this price formation where the CHF is not clearly bearish. It is rather consolidating with slight bias on the bearish side. So as and when the dollar is going to stop rising, and it is as and when it starts to show the signs of weakness emerging, or simply a start of consolidation phase, we can start looking for opportunities to go short in the USDCHF. We have already seen the JPY, so we now turn our gaze to the equity segment. For the equities, the US session has started, so the volatility is going to increase now. And if we consider this price formation, it is showing a tilt on the bearish side. But if we look at the larger picture, it is of consolidation. So I would not really expect much sharp move on the lower side. But given the underlying momentum being bearish, we do have to trade carefully at the moment. And if we wait it out and allow this increased volatility after the start of the US session to help us guide in figuring out the direction of the equities, I would say that we would be in a better position to make profitable trades. So see how things shape up around these levels of 33,800. So if you allow the price formation to unfold for next half an hour or 1 hour, you will have clarity emerging from these immediate moves, and accordingly you can make the trading choice. Right now the Dow Jones Industrial Average is having these lower high and lower low formation. I can't really see lower low unless we have these immediate swing low broken on the lower side. So after that, we will indeed have this formation of lower high and lower low. But till then, we better wait it out and allow this price formation to guide us in making trading decisions. It is a phase of consolidation with the tilt on the bearish side on lower time charting. Let's consider what's the story for S&P 500. S&P 500 is also similarly placed, not much of a difference in terms of its timeline of the immediate swing high and swing low formation. Let's consider the hourly charting. It is slightly looking less bearish compared to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And Nasdaq is apparently the strongest of these three key equity indices for the United States, with its price formation closer to these immediate swing high, whereas for the other major equity indices, we saw that the price formation is much closer to these immediate swing low. So that puts the Nasdaq as the best choice for going long, and Dow Jones Industrial Average as the best choice for going short. But since there is not much of an clarity in terms of the price formation, I would say that we allow this clarity to emerge, and as and when things start to look much firmer on either side, we can take our position accordingly. And given the fact that correlational analysis is telling us the tilt of the Nasdaq on the bullish side and tilt of the Dow Jones Industrial Average on the bearish side, we can try to take advantage of the situation with these things in mind. So that's all from my side for today's session of the correlation and regression. So if any of you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me in the feedback, and I will be more than happy to take the discussion forward. And recently, a cool new feature was added on the platform. Let me zoom out. Here from this view, you can enable a hot list of stocks. So whichever stock is buzzing, whether it is rising or declining, will be shortlisted as per your criterion. If you go for today, then today's most happening stocks will be shortlisted. You can even go for last hour, week, day. All these options are provided. Last hour, as of now, it is showing nothing. Let's consider last week. So all these stocks which have gained or lost substantially are included in the hot list. Maybe after some time, the US stocks will show up here in last hour. So this is all for today's session. Thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous day ahead. See you next time around. Till then.